Hey Fight fans! We want to thank everyone for supporting Undisputed both through early access and since our full launch last week. This project has been a huge labor of love, and as we've said many times, we are committed to making the greatest boxing game of all time. It is great to see so many people playing and enjoying Undisputed, but we are also aware of a number of issues affecting the game, especially around online multiplayer. We sincerely apologize to any players impacted and appreciate your patience as we work to fix them. To ensure we're delivering significant and high quality improvements, our first update is planned to drop in mid-December. We know that feels like a long time. However, this enables us to properly test, refine, and tweak the fixes so that you get the best experience possible. It also enables us to deliver on those fixes without a knock-on impact to other planned updates that we know players care about, both in the December and future updates, such as improvements to blocking and career mode. We are focusing on what we believe, based on your feedback, are the most critical issues. 1. Stagger hit reactions causing desync issues, which lead to players being unable to fight effectively. 2. Power punches consistently bleed through blocks, meaning winning a fight online is largely down to throwing power punches. 3. Deontay Wilder is overpowered, particularly his power hook. 4. Some DLC fighters are unable to be used online. 5. Players become stuck in an infinite transition screen after winning through an injury TKO. And lastly, for a majority of users, DLC doesn't appear for secondary accounts on Xbox. We don't intend to stop here, however. We are planning further updates that will provide even more improvements, game balancing, penalties for players quitting early during matches, and additional features. Thank you for bearing with us. So this is the message that was dropped on the official Undisputed Boxing website. This message was released a few days ago. I didn't cover it as soon as it dropped because I wanted to just give it a few days to kind of simmer a little bit. Everybody gets caught up to speed, and then we talk about it. Now, people are not happy about this for obvious reasons, but before we get to why people are upset, let's talk about some of the critical feedback they say that they've received. All right, so the first one right there talks about the stagger hit reactions causing desync issues, which lead to players being unable to fight effectively. Now, what does that mean? What does desync mean? It means that the game is not synchronized. So what I'm seeing on my screen and what the other player is seeing on their screen are not the same things. So a lot of times when you're playing on Undisputed, you'll realize that you got hit with a punch that you didn't see actually hit you. But on the other player's screen, they threw the punch and they probably saw that punch actually land on their screen. But on your screen, you just know you got hit with something, even though visually you didn't see what you got hit with. That is when the game is no longer synchronized. Now, this could happen because of lag, latency. It could also happen because their servers have some kind of issues. They got to figure out exactly what's causing all these desync issues. They're saying that stagger hit reactions is what's causing them, but I've noticed those desync issues happening even without the stagger hit reactions. So I do believe they have to do a little bit more research into figuring out exactly what is causing it before they can actually fix it. And I suspect this is going to be one of the harder things for them to actually correct, because we've actually seen this happen in other bigger games, and it just seems to be a very difficult issue to fix. Hopefully, they can figure out exactly what's causing it and they can fix it. Next up, they're talking about power punches consistently bleeding through blocks, which means winning a fight online is largely down to throwing power punches. Now, I don't know if this is how they intended their block to work. I don't know if they intended the block to have some bleed through. I mean, the block in the game has been explained very briefly, but it hasn't really been explained in depth. We don't really understand fully how it is supposed to work. Right now, we know that a few shots would deplete the block and then power punches would just get through it, right? So I don't know what they're saying right here. Is it going to get to a point now where where the block becomes like a stone wall, right? Where the block just becomes extremely powerful, that punches don't get through it? Because that really would not be simulation boxing, right? So like that leads to concerns, right? What are they going to do to the block come December based on the complaints people are giving? Number 3, Deontay Wilder is overpowered, particularly his power hook. See, this right here is confusing to me because, yes, Deontay Wilder is overpowered, but it's not particularly his power hook. Like, his power is not the problem. Deontay Wilder is supposed to be powerful. He's one of the, if not the most powerful boxer in history. He's supposed to deal a tremendous amount of damage if he lands, 100%. The problem with Deontay Wilder has to do with core issues in the game. The core problems in the game is what makes Deontay Wilder feel as overpowered as he is. It's the fact that you can whiff and you can miss power hooks and power punches in general. You can miss all over the place. Your opponent can slip, duck, force you to whiff, and you don't get tired as quickly as you're supposed to. It's the fact that attacking the body of somebody that's throwing all these shots and just attacking the body in general doesn't do enough to reduce the fighter's stamina. These are core gameplay issues that's then making someone like Deontay Wilder, indirectly making Wilder more powerful. So what are they going to do to Wilder? Are they going to focus solely on Deontay? Are they going to now make him less powerful than he's supposed to be? I hope not, right? Are they going to reduce the power of his hooks, the power of his cross? I don't think they should do that. I think they should do something to make sure that Wilder is still very powerful, but if you're in a fight and you're forcing him to whiff all over the place, that he gets tired. They talked about some DLC fighters being unable to be used online. That's definitely a problem. You know, a lot of people paid $80 to be able to use these fighters. You got to make sure these fighters are able to be used online. I believe Dmitry Bivol is one of them that you can't. I believe the whole entire light heavyweight division, if I remember correctly, can't actually be used online. That's definitely an issue that they got to fix. And then they talk about players becoming stuck in an infinite transition screen after winning through an injury, TKO. And then for a majority of users, DLC doesn't appear for secondary accounts on Xbox. I'm worried that right here, there is no talk whatsoever of stamina. They briefly talked about penalizing players who quit after the match when they lose and not getting some kind of penalty for it. They briefly talked about it, but they described that as further updates. We are planning further updates that will provide even more improvements, game balancing. So it doesn't seem like we're going to actually get that in December. Like right now, we don't know what's actually coming in December. And this is where the problem lies. Okay. I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it is smarter and wiser to provide smaller updates more consistently as opposed to going a really long time without updating the game. Because if the update you do drop after that long time period, if that update doesn't hit, if it's not significant, if it doesn't significantly change the game for the better, you're just going to end up pissing people off even more. They'll ask you, we waited this long for you to drop this update that's supposed to make the game a huge improvement, make it a completely different game, and you drop this update and nothing has changed or very little has changed. In my opinion, now that you guys still have time, now that people are voicing their opinions, I think it would be wiser if you released smaller updates, like say every single month you released a small update to fix something. One of the more annoying ones, of course, being the stamina issues, the power issues, the fact that, online is just nothing but power hooks. The problem is not the hooks, it's the stamina. The fact that online matches are only 8 rounds as opposed to 12 rounds, which will give you enough time to effectively punish these guys. The fact that players are quitting out and not getting losses. Stuff like that, I feel, should be hot fixes, right? There should be a difference between a hot fix and a big update, a big patch. And if people are going to wait until mid-December, this patch had better be the mother of all patches, or else people are really, really going to be upset. And that is what I'm personally concerned about. There are a lot of issues with this game right now, and I don't foresee a situation where all of these issues are fixed in December. I don't think we're going to get, I don't think the update will be significant enough to pacify a vast majority of players. If it is, that would be just the greatest thing in the world, and I would be just happy about that. But if I had to guess, I would suspect that with the way the game is going, you got to remember, early access dropped in this was late January of 2023. The game has been in early access. And since early access, there's been a lot of feedback from players, a lot of feedback. This is almost 2 years now, 2 years worth of feedback. And this final version of the game that everyone just bought was supposed to be the game to fix all of the issues players were complaining about during early access. So remember what happened. There was a long stretch of time when Steel City stopped updating the game at all and promised that when we finally get this version of the game that we have right now, it would fix all those issues. And now we have that version of the game. And not only are some of those issues still in the game, but more issues have now been created. How do we know the same thing won't happen in mid-December? How do we know that brand new problems won't present themselves? This is where I'm going to offer this final feedback that I've been offering for a while. I think it is important that this team gets some kind of game changer program. Now, I'll say this again. I'm not suggesting a game changer program because I want to be on it. If it's offered to me, the answer will be no. I don't want to be on their game changer program. I don't want that. But I do think that this team needs a game changer program. You need a group of players ranging from offline players, highly competitive players, casual players, career mode players, players who care deeply about, players who cover each aspect of the game. Don't just bring in nothing but highly competitive players who don't care about offline whatsoever. Or you bring in nothing but offline players who don't care about what happens online. Or you bring in players who don't care about what happens in career mode. You need a wide variety of players who care about every single aspect of your game. Players who do a very good job of looking at the community and seeing what people are complaining about. Players who frequent the Reddits, the Discords, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the Instagrams, looking at what are players complaining about. And then you need to be able to get these players to sit down together with each other. What are the priorities? What are people actually complaining about? What should we fix, right? This issue of resources, we're getting right back to resources, right? They just secured, was it like $20 million recently? And I don't know where a lot of that went to. It's pretty obvious a vast majority of that went to marketing. I mean, this game was marketed at UFC events, boxing events, and I know these are not cheap whatsoever. But, you know, knowing where to allocate these resources in terms of fixing the game is by and large it's going to be due to you pinpointing specifically what the critical issues are in the community, and it is very difficult to do that on your own. It's very difficult because as you look at the list they pointed out right here, bro, like Deontay Wilder is overpowered, particularly his hook. That's not the complaint. And you're not going to know that unless you have people in the community, in the trenches, letting you know, no, the problem is not Wilder's power. Please don't reduce his power. Please don't reduce Wilder's power. That's not the problem. The problem is stamina. The problem is he's able to whiff and he's too fast. He's not fighting like himself. He's able to do things he can't actually do in real life. He can put people out with his power, but that's not what we're seeing in the game. That's not the issue. You need a team of game changers to be able to help you with that. They discuss amongst each other. They figure out what are the main problems with the game. Then they present it to you guys. When they agree with each other, they present it to you guys. These are the priorities. Focus on these fixes. And then when you implement those fixes, you have them test it out. You have them test it out before it then comes to the rest of us, right? Because if they approve, you know, these community guys or whatever, if they, okay, we've tested this new patch, it's good, then we can go, okay. You know, you can have some confidence that whatever patch you're putting out, A, didn't break something new, and B, sufficiently actually fixes the problems in the community. So that's where I'm going to leave this. I feel like I've talked way too damn long, and, you know, so I'm going to just leave it at that. Fingers crossed that this mid-December update or patch is actually hard hitting and fixes most, if not all, of these issues. Fingers crossed that it does, but we won't know until that time comes. So I'll leave it at that. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a good one.